Hey, everybody, this is Seth Green. Welcome to the Double Your Referrals in 90 Days Challenge. So, I am super excited to be launching this for you. Now, we are, if this is the first one, then that means it's free. It's the first 90-day Double Your Referral Challenge we are doing for free. If you are watching a recording of this anytime after the first 90 days. There may or may not be a fee involved to participate in the challenge. But if you're here now, if you're live with me, or if you're watching this recording in March, April, or May of 2020, it is free because this is the first one. So super excited super excited to have you on board with us. I'm going to be you're going to be joining me live every single week or watching the recordings if you can't make it. I'm going to be giving you homework assignments. You're going to be doing those homework assignments. If you do them and implement what I teach you every week for the next 90 days, you will double your referrals. And if your referral number right now isn't what you want it to be, if it's zero, obviously doubling zero isn't a sexy offer. So we'll get some real regular referrals in the door. And here is the best part. You won't have to ask your clients. Because I'm in the financial services industry and the marketing industry and the publishing and podcasting industries. And in the financial services industry where I started, we have been taught that you should ask your clients for referrals. And hey, Larry, thanks for joining us. You should ask your clients every time you see them. There are a number of gurus in our industry who teach this, various different processes for asking for referrals. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. Let's see. When I started, 20 more than 20. When I started, sorry about that. I'll hit do not disturb in a second as soon as that call goes away. When I started at Prudential, back in the day, 20 plus years ago, I had a branch manager who taught me that we should say, hey, I get paid in two ways. One is by helping you, and the other is by the number of people I help. And then segue that was the preamble into the conversation of who else do you know who I can help? And usually you were supposed to ask by whatever situation that person was in. So who else do you know who's retiring from Kodak? Who else do you know who just got divorced? Who else do you know who just inherited money? All kinds of fabulous questions like that, right? And the issue became that I discovered is it rarely was successful, right? The I get paid in two ways speech or the who else do you know who needs to roll over the 401k. Every once in a great while, someone would think of someone, but most of the time they would draw a blank and then subconsciously they feel bad because they couldn't help me out. Now, if you ask them every time and they never have an answer and they feel bad every time, how many times is it going to take of them feeling bad before they don't want to talk to you anymore? And you've thus, in essence, sabotaged your entire relationship. So we are not going to do that. Now, I have studied numerous referral marketing systems from different gurus in different industries. The best referral ask I ever saw was done by Bill Cates, who's in the financial services industry, and his VIPS, value, importance, permission, VIPS method is the best physical direct ask I've ever seen. But it still has the issue of putting people on the spot. Now, Bill has increased his methodology since the advent of social media and suggests that you do the research ahead of time of who you think that prospect might know that you might want to meet, like LinkedIn first degree connections who are local, so that you have a really good shot. Instead of saying, hey, who else do you know, blah, 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 you can say, hey, I did some research and it looks like there's a Jim Smith at your company. Is that true? Do you work with Jim? Do you know him personally? Tell me about Jim. And then that segues into the can you introduce me to Jim conversation. So he's got the most elegant version to alleviate the whole I can't think of anybody thing. However, you're still asking someone every single time you see them if you do it right. And it could still, if they know you're always going to ask, they may not necessarily be so thrilled that you're always going to ask. And it may result in them trying to leave your office faster before the dreaded question comes up, or it may leave them not wanting to come because you're going to nag them every single time. Larry says, couldn't agree with you more. Asking referrals from our clients is unprofessional. Exactly. So you can't, in my opinion, you should, and Larry agrees with me, you should not ask. So how do you get them to refer? Because right now, you're depending on organic referrals, right? You're depending on your phone ringing and either a client being on the other end. And John calls and John says, Seth, I got a referral for you. My buddy at work's retiring. Needs to talk to someone about his 401k. Will you talk to him? Sure. Okay, here's his number. That's the holy grail, right? Or better yet, Bob calls and says, hi, John works with you, told me to talk to you. I'm calling to make an appointment, right? Those are that's why referrals are better. It's a slam dunk. When you call, if they call you, it's a home run and you're in. If you call them and say, hey, Bob told me to talk to you, theoretically, Bob has told them about you and they know who you are. And it's, oh, yeah, I was talking about my 401k. I need a second opinion. I'd like to talk to you, right? Your close rate, whatever it is normally, when you see a cold prospect who you haven't met, you know what? Let's ask. Type in the chat box for me. If you meet a prospect for the first time who is not a referral and has not come to, let's say, a seminar, a cold prospect, do you track it? What is your conversion rate? How many of them become clients? Type in the chat box for me. Larry, how many? Marina, what's your close rate on cold prospects? August, how about you? Okay, I see 50%. I see 25%. I see 10%. Okay, so those are all normal. That's all. I mean, it's a range, obviously. But if they're coming in cold and have no introduction to you, and this is their first introduction, it's going to be a lot harder to sell, which is why referrals are so much better. Because, your referral close rate, should be like 100%. The only reason why it wouldn't be is if they've got a pre-existing relationship that they really can't get rid of. So, for example, I had someone who, their brother-in-law was their advisor. And he said, listen, I can't move my money. It would make Thanksgiving dinner uncomfortable, but I want you to help me. Literally paid two advisors, paid twice, paid me, paid his advisor. And in some essences, like he couldn't pay me an AUM fee from the account. He literally had to write me a check out of his bank account. And then I wasn't managing the money, but I was telling him, go tell your brother-in-law to change X, Y, and Z. And he would just say he heard it on Motley Fool or CNBC and he wanted his brother-in-law to do something. So his brother-in-law didn't know I existed. So that's really, that should be really the only reason why they don't hire you. But if it's a referral and they have a good relationship with the person who referred them, it should be a slam dunk. So that's why you're here, right? You want more referrals and you don't want to have to beg, plead, borrow, or nag your clients to give you referrals because that doesn't work. It doesn't work long-term. It's not a sustainable, viable strategy because you end up repelling your clients. So how are we going to create what I call a referral culture in your practice where referrals come in without you ever having to ask them? We're going to get to that. We're going to spend the next 12 weeks, the next 90 days building that. And you're going to have some campaigns that are going to go to your clients via direct mail. So no calling and saying, send me a referral. And the direct mail isn't going to say, send me a referral, but it's going to create something where your clients say, hey, I want my friend Bob, who's at work and he's retiring too. I talked to him. He wants to meet you. He wants to do X, Y, and Z. So it's not organic where we have no idea how many are coming in. I'm going to teach you how to do specific referral campaigns where you will get, hey, I know when I run this, I'm getting 12. I'm going to meet 12 new client referrals at one time, or 10, or 6, or 8. They're small. It's not designed to get you 50 referrals at once because you couldn't fulfill on all of those anyway. It's designed, and you wouldn't get much time to spend with all 50 people. I want you to have 4 to 10 couples that you are meeting at once. You have leverage. It's your initial non-salesy first meeting where there is no seminar. There is no, here's what I do, here's who I do it for, here's why I've been in business this long, and these are the funds I use. None of that. It's going to be all warm and fuzzy. And they are literally going to say to you, oh my God, I want to come talk to you. And then your first meeting is basically already had. There's no necessarily selling involved. The campaign I give you and what's going to happen is literally going to do all of that for you without being salesy or sleazy. And literally, they will be pre-sold and walk in the door going, I'm ready for, do the fact find and tell me what to do. So that's the end goal. That's where you're going to end up. And then you're going to run one of those every single quarter and get another wave of referrals every single time you do it. Now we got to go backwards and start at the very beginning. Before I can teach you what to do, I've got to teach you how to do it. And before I can teach you how to do it, I got to teach you why. And I got to teach you who to do it for, because and this is where we're going to start today, week 1, because not all clients are created equal. You don't necessarily want every single one of your clients to refer to you. There are clients, some you might actually want to go away. But if somebody's got a $4,000, $5,000 IRA, and it's been sitting at like $4,000 or $5,000, they haven't added a dime to it in forever, and they're not going to, that may not be a client that you want to put on the system, because you may not want them to give you referrals, right? But if you've got another client, like the client who called me yesterday, because I sent him something that, again, you're going to learn how to do, generated an immediate phone call within 24 hours of him getting it in the mail. He's got $1.7 million. And he's a partner in his law firm, and he knows all the other partners. And he's within 2 years of retirement. And a lot of those, they're naming new partners because they need new partners that are in their 40s, because a lot of those partners are in their 60s. Him I want referrals from. So let's talk about that right now. So the first thing you need to do, regardless of what business you're in, you know what? Type in the chat box for me. What business are you in? Type in your profession for financial advisor, insurance agent, RIA, or you're a marketer, you're a salesperson, you're a sales coach, you're an author, speaker, coach, consultant, whatever you are. Type that in the chat box for me. And we'll kind of customize this as we go for who shows up. Excuse me. Sorry. I am sleep deprived from last night. Okay. So, coach, financial advisor. Awesome. All right. So what we need to do is we need to start by sorting our clients. We need to figure out who among our client base are the people we want referrals from. So I'm going to share with you the client scoring sheet I developed in my practice as a financial advisor. And I'm going to give you all access to this. So this is a Google sheet. And what you're going to do when I give you the link is you're going to go to File, Make a Copy, and you're going to change it to Client Scoring Sheet Larry, and then you're going to save it. And now you have a Google sheet, Client Scoring Sheet Larry, as opposed to mine, because Larry's going to modify it. Because in this case, Larry's a coach. He's not a financial advisor. His business is going to be different. So let me share with you my scoring system, and we're going to talk about how we can modify it for your business. So hang on one second. There's one. You're going to rank your clients. They're all going to go on this sheet, and you're going to rank your clients A, B, C, D, if you don't already. So A is the highest value. Those are the best possible clients you can have. B is one step below them, C is a step below them, and D is your bottom 20%. A is your top 20%, D is your bottom 20%. D's you probably don't want referrals from. So I came up with this scoring formula based on activity that I assigned point values to. And you're going to do the same thing. So in this case, I have a point total, and then based on the number of points they get assigned, are they A, B, C, D, so that I can then sort them. So for example, in this case, I have a column for how many referrals they've given me already, which of course means you need to be able to track that. I don't assign points, but I want to know what profession they are in. That's John. We're going to do, John has 1.7 million assets under management as AUM. He has 2 insurance contracts with me. He has 2 annuities with me. His wife does not work. I have done a beneficiary review with him every year this year to make sure the beneficiaries on his accounts are correct. I talked to him yesterday, so I've talked to him. Actually, how many times have I talked to him? I've talked to him 3 times this year. The forms are in for all 5 of his accounts. And his money is here for 4 out of 5 of those accounts because one's a 401k and he can't move it till he retires. Now, the rest of this information would be first name, last name, wife or spouse, first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, birthdays, business anniversary, day he hired us. Because that's important because we can send gifts that we're going to talk about later on their anniversary. Phone number, last time I talked to them, and you may adjust this you may put the spreadsheet in your own CRM system, whether it's Infusionsoft or a Redtail. You may create these fields in it. That's okay too. Doesn't matter to me. You don't have to use Google Sheets. This is just where I created it so I could share it with everybody no matter what system they had. Last day I reviewed his portfolio was the day before. His office phone, his extension, cell phone, emails. Hang on, we got a couple extra columns. Emails, what account types he's got. So John's got a 401k. John's got a 529 for each child. He has 2 kids. He's got insurance, 2. So you would keep adding columns until you covered them all. He's got 2 annuities, and that's it. His kids, I would have their name and date of birth. In the survey campaign, I'm going to give you that you're going to send to your clients, and we'll talk about that in 2 weeks. You're going to find out what their kids' interests are. Why would you want to know that? You're going to want to know what their kids and grandkids, if they're old enough to have them, interests are. And it's all going to go in a spreadsheet because you can use that to generate goodwill like crazy. So for example, I have a vendor who provides services to our firm. And that vendor is local. I've met them. I see them a couple times a year. We have bonded for the last 13 years on a personal level. And he knows that my son, 13-year-old son, Max, is a soccer star. He plays goalie for the Olympic development team. So he has sent me, he bought a subscription for me to Youth Soccer Magazine. And every time it comes in the mail, my son gets all excited. I get all excited. He reads it, I read it, and we talk about stuff that was in there and how he's going to be in there one day. And every single time I see it, and it sticks around, we save them all in a binder, in a box. But that magazine will stay out on the table for at least a couple weeks when it comes, because he's got to read it, then I got to read it. So every single time it's there, and it's got my vendor's name on it, compliments of, I get warm and fuzzy all over again. And that vendor has probably gotten a greater percentage of my business than his 3 closest competitors, who I also know, because he's the only one who did that. So that's why we want to know when kids' birthdays are. That's why we want to know what their hobbies are. That's why we want to know what their grandkids' birthdays and hobbies are too. Because if you get more than one person involved, if you get your client's family involved, they will love you 10 times more, which is, again, something else I'm going to teach you. Now, if we go back to the sheet, you're also going to see that not only did I ask, and the reason why I have grandchild 8 is because I have a client who has 8 grandkids. If you have more, add more columns. So you just hit LI, column, and a new column comes up. Now you'll notice I have categories of client hobbies and interests: antique collecting, art and music, boating, cooking. And I'm in Buffalo, so do they like the Buffalo Sabres hockey? Do they watch Buffalo Bills football? Gardening, golfing, hiking, Buffalo Bison's baseball, wine tasting. I want to know. You're ultimately going to find all these things out, but don't worry, you don't have to ask. We've got a program where they'll tell you what fiction authors they like to read, what nonfiction books they like to read, what magazines they like to read, what charities they support, We have a whole campaign to get in through the charity, which we'll talk about another time. What topics they're interested in. In this case, again, as a financial advisor, do they care about increasing their investment income? Do they care about charitable giving? Do they care about planning for kids' college? Are they worried about retirement planning? Do they have life insurance, disability insurance, will, power of attorney, 401k, IRA? Because even if that money isn't here, I still want to know about it. What's their net worth? Who's their accountant? Who's their lawyer? And then I also want to know what important qualities could they have, do they value in me as an advisor, or Larry as a coach, or Marina, whatever. What could I do to improve? Would they recommend me? And then that segues into another campaign. How often do they want to hear from me? Once a month, once a quarter, once a year, or other? So once all of this data comes back, and your client's going to do all the work to give it to you, I'm going to teach you that in the next 2 weeks. Once that information is in here, this becomes a gold mine, because I now know what to get them and their kids for every birthday, every anniversary. I now know what I can use to get other referrals without asking. So for example, again, I'm going to teach you this in the next 2 weeks. If I know that my entire client base, line 1, line 2, all the way down, if there's 100 people in here, or 2 or 300 or 50, and I can sort, and I now know that my top 50, that 50 clients, let's say 15, 15 of my top clients play golf. I could then do a golf theme campaign to get them to introduce me, again, without asking, to a member of their foursome, because golf is an activity that you don't play by yourself. So now all of a sudden, those 15 people who play golf are introducing me to 15 members of their foursome, and I've got 15 warm referrals, because it's based on golf, not on money. The money comes later, and because it comes later, that's why it works, and the close rate will be so high. I'm going to tell you how you're going to get them to introduce you to members of their foursome, or whatever that hobby is or lifestyle interest is, and how we're going to use all that gold mine of a data in a future week. But what your assignment is for week 1 is your assignment is to get your client, make a copy of the client scoring sheet, and I'm going to paste the link into the chat box. If you are watching the recording of this, because I'm going to email out the recording, on the recording page, there will be a button that you can click to open up the Google Sheet. And you're going to make a copy of it and put your name on that copy and start working on it. So your job is to, number 1, you're going to copy and paste from whatever CRM you've got, and you're going to put your client information into this sheet. A lot of it's going to be blank, because you're not going to know all the interests and kids and grandkids and stuff yet, but that's okay. Seth, are you filling out this inventory for all of your clients, or your top 20% generating 80% of your firm's revenue? I'm filling it out for all, Larry, because I'm going to use this to rate my clients. So your first assignment, you're going to have 2. Your first assignment is going to be to get the sheet, make a copy of it, and input in copy and paste client data. Your second assignment is going to be to devise that point scoring system. So right now, those are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 factors, and the number of points I give them, so that I can quantitatively rate who my best clients are. Now, if you're not a financial advisor, these categories are going to be different, and the point values might be different. So for example, I give 10 points for every referral a client gives me. I will give them I will give them 2 points every time I have a conversation with them, because every touch is good and solidifies that relationship. So I've assigned, and you'll be able to click on this and see in your spreadsheet, I've assigned these categories as point worthy, and I've assigned them different point amounts. So what I need you to do, get the sheet, import your client data, and then you need to think about what activities are point worthy that they could do with you, and how do you assign them points. And then you're going to tweak the formula and tweak the columns. So everyone, unless you're a financial advisor, everyone's going to look different. And even financial advisors might look different, because some of you might not do insurance or annuities, or some of you might say, the insurance is worth more to me than a referral is, or whatever. You're going to devise that system. So what I'd like to do, Larry, since you are a non-financial advisor, are you willing to role play with me for just a minute? And I will bring you on to so that you can talk and people, and I can hear you and we can have a conversation for everybody else's benefit. This is the part where you type yes or no. Yep. Awesome. Okay. All right, Larry, you need to unmute yourself. Larry, can you talk?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Awesome. All right. So you are a coach. Tell me what does that mean? What do you coach?
Actually, I coach financial advisors who are currently registered, securities registered.
Okay. So like Series 7. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
I also have quite a few solopreneurs that I coach.
Okay. So, all right. So let's start with the financial advisors because it'll be easier, and simply because I am one, but I'm not a solopreneur because I have an awesome team. So let's say we're coaching financial advisors. How do those financial advisors? So do those financial advisors refer you to other financial advisors, or would you like them to?
Yes to both.
Okay, so then here I will share my screen again. So then you're going to most likely keep the referral column. The assets under management you wouldn't use because they're not investing their assets. You're not managing their money, but you might instead of AUM, I'm going to change here. I'm going to make a copy of this right now. And I'm going to play with the copy as opposed to the demo for everybody. I'll make a copy of client scoring sheet coach, and all our coaches can grab that one separately. So then instead of assets under management, I'm going to change that to revenue. So on average, I know it's going to vary, Larry, but how much do they pay you?
$250 an hour.
$250 an hour. And are they buying like a package of a certain number of hours?
12 sessions.
Okay, so $3,000.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so we'll say revenue is 3,000. So you're going to care
3,000.
about. Okay, so I've got referrals that you care about. You care about how much money they pay you. What other things would lead them to be a better prospect besides paying you more money or referring you more? Do we care how long they've been in business?
Actually, no, that doesn't.
Okay, do we care if they're at a broker dealer versus like independent?
Independent.
Okay, so does that mean you don't work with broker dealer guys because the compliance is too big a pain in the butt?
No, it's been my experience with trying to work with advisors, let's say from Edward Jones, that they're just good candidates for my coaching program because they have a lot of in-house coaching and they're not willing to spend the money.
Okay, so independent would matter. So we want independent. We don't care how long they've been in business. Ooh, do we care about how much revenue they pay you? Do we care about how much production they do so that we make sure they can afford you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And are you telling them things to do that they need to implement in their practice that could potentially cost them money?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay, so if you're coaching me as an advisor, are you going to tell me to, let's say, go do a seminar and I'm going to spend money to do what you tell me?
Well, I don't tell them what to do. They come up with their own action plan. I coach them to come up with their own answer. So yes, if they decide that they need to develop some new skills to be, let's say, to take the leap from an advisor to a wealth advisor, then we would come up with an action plan, and part of the coaching is to hold them accountable.
Okay. So you're going to care about so the reason I was asking was I was trying to determine, is there a minimum threshold? Because if you work with an advisor who's making $50,000 a year, their issues are going to be different. They're in survival than if you work with a guy who's doing $5 million a year.
That's a really great question. So I would say the threshold would be a minimum of $150,000 in production.
Okay. So he's probably been around longer than at least 3, if not 5 years. He's past survival. He's no longer worried about paying the bills anymore. He's supporting his family, assuming he has one. And now he's going, they started me off when I got into this business cold calling or doing whatever. I built a practice. I'm okay, but I'm not doing phenomenal. And I want to invest some money in coaching to like get to the next level.
That's a great characterization.
Okay, awesome. So you're going to change the point scoring system because you're not going to give a point for every dollar of production they do. Otherwise, you're going to have some guys who have like 10 million points. So which one you do is going to have to change. But so far, we've got referrals, revenue they pay you, if they're independent, how much production they do. Do we care if they are a solo practitioner like office with one assistant, or do we care if they have either built a team or are part of one?
I would give more points to if they have a team and they're in the process of building a team, because then I can come in and become an in-house coach and do in-house training.
Okay, so solo versus team. Again, you're going to have to figure out how many points do you give for each one. So here I'll do 2 columns. They get 1 set of points if they're solo. They get a higher set of points if they're a team, based on how many. So if they have 2 team members, they would however many points per team member. So this is where you would enter how many team members they have, because if they've got 10 team members, if I could spell, if they have 10 team members, they're worth more to you than if they have 2 team members, right?
Yes.
Okay. Does it matter? Does it matter to you how many clients they've got?
Not really. A person could have 25 clients with 150,000 production or 100, right?
True.
In fact, I like working with advisors who have 200-300 clients and working, burning the candle at both ends and helping them to prune down the amount of clients or to find better quality clients.
Okay, so you can help them sift and sort their book of business, do a transition some of those clients, the lower level clients, maybe away or to some type of model that doesn't require much work.
Exactly.
And then focus on their top 20% relationships where they make 80% of their money anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so then so the number of clients matters to you, because you want the guy who, this might actually help you if you haven't already, define your ideal sweet spot, because this may say, I want the guy with 300 clients who's making 300 grand because he's only making $1,000 a household, and he's got 3 team members, but it's a really inefficient practice with low productivity per client, and your magic could really work to get them to like 600,000 working, 30% fewer hours.
That's very well said.
Okay, awesome. All right, we're on the right track. Okay. I assume we would care how often you talk to them, how many times, because the more you talk to them, the happier they get.
Yeah, I have two programs. One's an all access, which is I price that a little higher. They have access anytime during the day or week. But I would say the majority of my clients, I talk to them twice a month with maybe a 10-minute spot check call in between. So maximum 4 times a month.
Okay. And then forms in money here. You're not managing that money. We would need other categories for those two. Are there any other factors by which you could rate them and say this advisor is a better fit for me than advisor C?
That's a good question, and that's something that I do in the discovery meeting. I want to find out if somebody is really serious about their personal growth and development. So I have questions to uncover that.
Okay, so tell me a little. I love that. Tell me a little bit about like what are you asking them, like what books are they reading or courses they've taken? How are you determining if they're into improving themselves and thus are going to, be a good fit?
Well, you just answered it. You know, I try to find out if they're investing money in their own personal growth and development rather than just investing in X and O's, you know, like software and
Yep.
uh,
Okay, so then can we rate them on some type of scale where a 0 is they're a bump on a log and they're not doing a darn thing, whereas a 10 might be this guy's
zero
reading
to
a
five.
book.
I rate them a 0 and a 5.
Perfect. Okay, so that's where that'll go. Because then 5, they're buying a book every 2 weeks. They're going to conferences. They're taking Tony Robbins courses. They're always looking for improvement. Awesome.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna add that to mine. I like that.
That's
Any
probably, I would think that, I mean, besides the, obviously the production, be able to afford coaching, I found that to be the most important criteria. You know, people who are like on this call, I'm assuming people on this call are really into personal growth and development.
yes,
They
yeah,
make, they make excellent clients, and those who are not, um, you know, they just want the X and O's and they just want in and out. And I see coaching, to me, it's like the difference between physical therapy and going to the Olympics. You know, physical therapy, 6 sessions, you're back in the game. You want to go to the Olympics, you're going to hire a world-class coach, and it's a transformational process.
yes, yes. My son is going through that right now. When he played house soccer, there was no goalie training whatsoever. And then we started. He's like, "I want to get better, Daddy. You know, you can only take me so far as volunteer dad." Because I played soccer, but I wasn't a goalie. And I certainly didn't play at the level he's going to play at. So we hired his first goalie coach. Then we found the best goalie coach in our area and moved up to that person. Then he had multiple goalie coaches going to multiple sessions. And then has now moved up to Olympic coaching from the actual, Olympic organization, which is like a completely different level. Like I'm used to walking into an indoor soccer facility and there's a field and there's 2 goals on it or however many, and that's like it. And you walk into the Olympic training facility and there's there are cameras covering like 3 different angles on the goal that they're videoing them practice training and then taking them into class for an hour and breaking down the film of everything that like frame by frame of here's how you held your hand. It was supposed to be at a 45-degree angle and you had it at 25. You need to move this 2 inches to the right. And it's just a completely different level. So I agree
Yeah.
100%.
Well, you're a good dad.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So then I'll eliminate the money here column for you. And then what your homework is going to be then, and I'll share this sheet with you as well, this specific one, is then you're going to go play with the formula in terms of what gets profession kind of goes away because they're a financial advisor. Well, no, yeah, I would you could keep it because you have some folks who aren't advisors. You're going to figure out how much each thing gets in terms of points and then tweak the point column right here so it calculates.
Okay.
You're going to married address you still want, birthdays you want, anniversaries you want. Account types is probably all going to go away because they're not being managed by you. Kids, grandkids, hobbies, all that stuff's going to stay. You might change the sports teams. They don't need to be Buffalo. And obviously the things that they're interested in terms of investing are all going to go away. But the stuff about what's the most important quality you want in a coach, what could I improve? Would you recommend me? How often do you want to hear from me? All those I would keep.
Okay.
All right, so here, let me delete some more for you. All the interest stuff some of it you could keep if you wanted to. You'd have to tweak it just to be like, what are they interested when it comes to growing their practice or when it comes to coaching? Because you might find that you have 10 clients all interested in the same thing that you're not offering right now because you didn't know anybody wanted it. And that could lead you to create a whole new program and get another 3,000 or more out of the same people.
Now, I think there's some of those things that I'm going to keep. For example, knowing, you know, my clients' outside interest. I discovered this by accident. I have a friend who, a coaching client that is the go-to. He does yoga training here in my hometown, and I was invited to his his class of yoga instructors who were being certified. And I was standing in the back of the room, and he called me up and introduced me as his coach, and said, without coach here, I wouldn't be doing this today. And I walked out of there with 2 or 3 people who were interested in coaching. So it was like by accident that I'm starting to attend my clients' events if they're graduating from a program or
Yeah,
getting
that's awesome. That's a great idea.
reward. I just found that out by accident. It's really nothing brilliant on my part.
It could, but you could do it on purpose now.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So I'll send you I'll post the link for this one in the chat box as well. And then Larry, thanks for being guinea pig today. Everybody, your homework again is to get your client data make a copy of the sheet, get your client data in, and then work on the point system and the categories so that we have completed spreadsheets for next Wednesday so we can move on to the next step. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Larry said, I got it. Okay. So Larry has said yes for all of you. If it doesn't make sense, let me know. All right. So then you're going to go do your homework. I will email out the recording later today. And the links to the sheets will be on there as well. And we'll see everybody next Wednesday.
Thanks, Seth.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.